All right, team. Welcome to today's Explainer. Think of this as your absolute masterclass on donor engagement. I am genuinely thrilled to be walking you through this today. Whether you are a junior staffer who just stepped onto the floor or, maybe you're just someone looking to seriously sharpen those development skills, I am going to share the ultimate playbook for fundraising success. We're going to go way beyond just asking for money. Actually, scratch that. We're going to learn how to forge genuine, high-impact partnerships. So grab your notepads because we're going to dive right in. Okay, really quickly, here is our syllabus for today. We're covering 6 steps: building detailed personas, drafting the document, real-world alignment, conversation starters, formal meetings and objections, and finally, simulated role plays.
Starting right off with Section 1, building detailed personas. Identify your ideal donor.
Before you even think about picking up that phone, you have to ask yourself this one absolutely critical question. Who is your ideal donor? Look, generic outreach simply doesn't work in high-level development. If you try to blast the exact same message to, say, a tech entrepreneur in their 20s and a retired corporate executive in their 70s, you are going to fail, for sure. You need a highly targeted strategy. Now, what's really fascinating here is how we have to combine hard demographic data with psychographic motivations to map out a complete profile. Think of it like a giant puzzle. We aren't just looking at the demographics, the age, income, and education. We've got to dig into the psychographics. What are their deep-seated values? What are their philanthropic goals? And finally, the behavioral traits. What's their actual giving history? How do they actually want to be engaged? When you put all 3 of these pieces together, boom, you get this perfect 3-dimensional blueprint of your donor. To make this a bit more real, let's look at a concrete example we've built. Meet Susan Harrison. Humanizing your data by giving your persona a real name and a background is a massive step in understanding how to actually talk to them like a human being.
This breakdown brilliantly illustrates the intersection of exactly who Susan is and how we need to engage her. Check this out. She's 45, holds an MBA, and is a senior marketing exec. What does that tell us? It means she is incredibly smart and incredibly busy. Her motivations are transparent projects that create real, tangible opportunities. But look at her challenges. Her schedule is completely packed. Because she's a busy executive, our communication has to be flawlessly concise. If you send Susan some dense 10-page meandering letter, it's straight into the recycling bin. Instead, you send her a crisp 1-page impact report and an invite to an exclusive event. That's how you win. Moving right along to Section 2, drafting the persona document. Creating the persona.
So the crucial point here is knowing how to translate all that psychological theory we just talked about into a living, breathing document your whole team can actually use. Here is your step-by-step guide. First, you identify those key demographic and psychographic traits. Second, you research diligently using your databases and industry reports. Step 3, humanize it. Give them a name like Susan. Step 4 is creating the actual visual document itself. And step 5, listen, this one is so often skipped, but it's absolutely crucial. Present and review this with your team. You have to ensure strategic alignment across your entire fundraising staff so everyone is literally speaking the same language. All right, Section 3, real-world campaign alignment. Let's look at some successful campaigns. Notice the stark contrast between these 2 sectors. On one side, we've got tech campaigns like Kickstarter's Pebble smartwatch. They target middle-income early adopters who just want to be on the cutting edge of innovation. But on the other side, look at global health institutions like the Gates Foundation. They have to align with massively wealthy individuals and large institutional donors whose core motivations are reputation and huge systemic global impact. You absolutely cannot use the Pebble smartwatch playbook to try and secure a grant from the Gates Foundation. They would laugh you out of the room. You can see across these other highly successful campaigns that the messaging strategy is perfectly tailored to specific donor motivations. Charity Water worked incredibly well because they targeted high-net-worth folks who absolutely demanded operational transparency. The ALS Ice Bucket Challenge, that went viral because it targeted the general public, leaning heavily into social influence and FOMO. Patreon works because it targets fans who crave a personal, ongoing connection. And the Moore Foundation targets corporate sponsors eager to fund early-stage scientific innovation. Perfect alignment is the name of the game here. Let's jump into Section 4, conversation starters, initiating the dialogue. Now that we've got our blueprint and we've seen it work out in the wild, let's step onto the training floor and master the conversation starter. Scenario 1, the informal networking event. Picture it. You're at a crowded social mixer, clinking glasses, lots of noise. You have very little time. You've got to quickly transition from a basic introduction and small talk to highlighting shared values before moving straight to the ask.
And hey, in this setting, the ask is usually just securing a follow-up meeting.
Listen closely to the cadence of this script. I notice we both have an interest in education. I'm working on a project to improve educational access. Have you heard about our recent initiative? It's brilliant, right? You are immediately aligning your cause with their known psychographic interest in education. It doesn't feel pushy at all. It just feels like an invitation to a shared passion. Cold calling, on the other hand, requires a totally different approach. You don't have the benefit of a fun, social setting to warm things up. You have to be instantly clear about who you are and why you're calling, while immediately anchoring the conversation by referencing their past giving history. Look at how this opener is structured. We focus on improving mental health services, which I understand is a cause you've supported in the past. This is highly effective because it essentially removes the cold from the cold call. By validating their previous philanthropic goals right out of the gate, you make them infinitely more receptive to hearing the rest of your pitch.
Moving to Section 5, formal meetings and handling objections.
Let's elevate this to the formal meeting environment. The stakes here are significantly higher. The asks are much larger, and honestly, the donor's objections are often a lot more subtle. When you're facing hesitation or a need for more proof during a sit-down pitch, whatever you do not freeze. You have to pivot. You need to offer them different, flexible ways to validate the impact of your project before they pull out the checkbook. This quote brilliantly illustrates how to keep that door wide open when you sense hesitation. Would you be interested in a detailed proposal, or perhaps a site visit to see the impact firsthand? If they aren't ready to commit funds right then and there, offer the site visit. Get them out into the field. Seeing the work firsthand builds that essential trust that ultimately closes major gifts. And finally, Section 6, simulated role-play sessions. Because practice makes perfect. To make sure you absolutely don't freeze when it really matters, we're going to run rigorous simulated donor role-play sessions on the training floor. This timeline shows exactly how we'll run the gauntlet to build your muscle memory. First, preparation. You research the persona, write the scripts. Second, practice. Run the scenario live with a partner. Third, feedback. The group evaluates how you delivered the ask. And finally, reflection. Take that feedback and map out a personal improvement plan. Your most common role play, and honestly, your most common real-world scenario is going to be the follow-up meeting. This is where the real magic happens. You've got to practice recapping your previous conversation to remind them why they cared in the first place. Then drop some exciting new project updates to reignite that passion. And finally, push for a specific action to get a hard commitment. I want to leave you all with this final, provocative thought before we break into our role-play groups. Think about this. If you haven't done the work to truly understand who is sitting across the table from you, how can you ever expect them to invest in your vision? Effective fundraising isn't just about asking people for money. It's about doing the research, building out that persona, and aligning perfectly with the donor's deeply held values. When you do that, you aren't just a fundraiser anymore. You're a partner in their philanthropic journey. Let's get to work.